covered TikTok, I've covered Twitter, I've even covered examples of fatlogic on YouTube, but I have absolutely no videos covering fatlogic on Reddit. So today will mark a momentous occasion on this channel. We're going to r/fatlogic. From Dean Venture 2, some days I like to say the word fat as often as possible just to see people squirm. There's something about turning the table and using anti-fat bias against them that gives me pleasure. It doesn't change the fact that they are fat phobic, but it does change the impact their fat phobia has on me. Sometimes I can just read something and I just know, wow, this person is no fun to be around. From Naked Lobster, obesity is a slur. That's the issue. It's actually a medical term. That's the issue. From Aunt Yen, fatness is never the cause of death. Never. Neither is fire. It's the burns, smoke inhalation, fluid loss, etc. We could say those things, or we could just say the cause of those things. Take your pick. From What the Fuck Should I Be Called? 80 to 90% of eating disorders begin with a diet. You know, Jesus once said 83% of statistics you find online are made up. Also, what happened to the whole correlation doesn't equal causation bit? Are we just abandoning that? From I Am Not As I Eve. People when someone who's overweight can't lose weight on the gym due to genetics. This one has an angry face in the background just to illustrate how mad this makes us. You know, if that's truly something that actually happens, getting mad is stupid, but here in reality, if you can't lose weight, it has nothing to do with your genes, unless you're eating them. In reality, you're simply eating too much. From Existential Fear. Fat people die younger, right? Wrong! Even the CDC admits that fat people live longer, and even being very fat fails to show up as a statistically significant mortality risk. Number 1, yes, fat people do die younger. This Norwegian study found that having a BMI 1 to 5 points above the normal range cost women an average of 0.65 years and men an average of 1.05 years. Having a BMI 5 to 10 points above average cost women an average of 2.87 years and men an average of 2.71 years. Having a BMI 10 or more points past the normal range cost women an average of 4.08 years and men an average of 4.83. Now, this is only going up to class 2 obesity. I'm not going to go over the data in this video, but at its most extreme levels, obesity can cost people nearly 20 years of life according to the available research. This is probably because as we go to the higher BMIs, the chances of that BMI being the result of higher lean mass drops dramatically. The CDC doesn't say anything close to this, like, at all. From Uninstall IE. Asking someone with PCOS to lose weight is the equivalent of asking my dog to stop stealing my sandwich. It's never gonna happen. First of all, if you truly cared enough, you could train your dog to stop eating your food. Secondly, people with PCOS can lose weight. This 2017 meta-analysis looked at several studies comparing weight loss intervention in women with and without PCOS. What researchers found is that there was no statistically significant difference in weight loss between women with and without PCOS. Stop telling women with PCOS, or anybody else for that matter, with any sort of hardships in their life that they are bound to fail. From Aunt Yin. Did you know underweight people are at a greater risk of death than obese people? Did you know drinking formaldehyde is more dangerous than drinking chlorine? Did you know a bear will kill you faster than a wolf? Did you know you're more likely to die getting hit by a bus than you are getting hit by a sedan? Of course, these are all unnecessary things to say because the two scenarios in question are not the only scenarios. I swear, these people are only capable of thinking in extremes. From Aunt Yen again. The two most common so-called chronic diseases, obesity and prediabetes, are constructs of anti-fat bias, the patriarchy, big pharma, and ignorance. Neither are actual diseases. Even if you don't want to say they are actual diseases, fine. The fact is, they will definitely lead to disease. Over 1/3 of the obese will develop diabetes, and about 70% of those with pre-diabetes will become diabetic. From Elphaba again, unpopular opinion. Claiming that lost weight is a health-promoting behavior is harmful, fatphobic, and rooted in racism. Yeah, it's actually rooted in a plethora of scientific research. From Antian, once again, calling for a war on fat presumes we have clear evidence of its danger. We do not. It also implies we have a proven arsenal for intervention. We do not. Actually, we have sufficient evidence for both of those things. From Light Up Cosplays, reminder, being fat isn't a crime. People can be fat and healthy. Genetics play a role in weight. There are medications/illnesses/disabilities that make it difficult/dangerous to lose weight. Someone else's weight has literally nothing to do with you, and they're likely already insecure about it. So keep all the comments to yourself. I want to focus on this people can be fat and healthy bit because it's a really prevalent myth I hear. You guys want to hear a joke? What does a doctor call a healthy fat person? 25 years old. This is a stupid fucking joke, but it's close to reality. This study by Gao and colleagues published in 2020 gathered data including BMI and metabolic health status from nearly 500,000 people in China across all three BMI categories with no history of cancer, stroke, and heart disease. What they found is that after a median follow-up of 10 years, those who were metabolically healthy but obese compared to the metabolically healthy normal weight people were 8% more likely to experience major vascular events, 5% more likely to experience major coronary events, 34% more likely to develop ischemic heart disease, 11% more likely to have a stroke. One more important detail mentioned in this study is that 40% of metabolically healthy obese people eventually transitioned into being metabolically unhealthy. And as pointed out by the research, other studies with longer follow-up show a greater amount of people transitioning from metabolically healthy to metabolically unhealthy. So let's be real here. Are you really fat and healthy? Or are you just 25 years old? From Chance Revolution 7297. Each large muscle of a bodybuilder represents a language he didn't learn, a poem he didn't read, a fun fact he never memorized. This is Nasser El-Sambadi, who placed second in one of the most controversial Mr. Olympia competitions. He graduated from the University of Augsburg with a degree in history, political science, and sociology. He also spoke 7 languages, but I guess he could have learned 8, right? In the entire history of the Mr. Olympia competition, only 4 out of 16 winners didn't receive some form of accredited higher education and receive a degree. These aren't dumb people, or at least the best of the best aren't dumb people. From Lucas A20, undereating or eating at irregular times can also cause weight gain. No, it can't. From Alto Ultra, dieting is the new smoking. Wow, this post is dumb and you should feel bad for posting it. Personally, I'd say morbid obesity is the new smoking, but have at it, I guess. From Le Spook Man, y'all remember Michelle Obama's whole end obesity thing? She was fucking obviously and openly fatphobic. Why didn't more people talk about this? It just wasn't as big of a deal as it should have been. I'm seething. I remember this. I remember people complaining about how gross Michelle Obama made school lunches, but as someone who was in school before and during the Obama administration, I can assure you we weren't exactly eating Michelin star quality meals back then. Anywho, it wasn't fat phobia. Childhood obesity has been taking off, and that's a big problem. Let me explain why. This Danish study published in 2018 found that adults who had been overweight since the age of 13 were nearly 4 times as likely to develop type 2 diabetes as those who had never been overweight. That seems bleak, but there's a bright side. Overweight kids who had achieved a normal BMI before the age of 13 had the same chances of developing type 2 diabetes as those who had never been overweight. So healthy eating programs targeting elementary schools in particular is what should be done, because the data reveals that is a very important time. From Soul Eater: fat phobia transcends every other form of oppression, even capitalism. This one is really crazy to me. Like, we live in a world where there's women who aren't allowed to do basic shit like drive without a man's permission. Areas in the world where being gay can get you put to death. Slavery literally still exists today, and it's worse than ever. And I could go on and on, but fat phobia transcends all of that. I bet it fucking does. Y'all take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video.